Greetings and welcome to Tech Tuesday, presented by Delta Media Group, where we recently tried to buy some property in Egypt, but turns out it was just a pyramid scheme. Hey. So, today we're going to take a look at Customer List. It's one that we've been over a few times and actually just recently went over a little bit as part of our video on Team Site and Team Account functionality. But today we're going to take a little bit more of a deeper dive into Customer List and the kind of things you can do with it. We've actually added quite a bit there since the last video we made on it. So we'll kind of take a look at actually each of the filters and look at things in a bit more detail. So to get to Customer List, first off, by default, under the CRM tab, you may have a Customer List link. If that's not there, and this is customizable per company, you may also have a Customer List link on your CRM landing page. So if you just click on CRM, there might be a tile up at the top that says Customer List. Or like everything else in DeltaNet 6, you can also type Customer List up here at the top in our Quick Actions bar, and you'll see CRM Customer List right there, or Customer List, and either one will take you straight to this page. So once you found your way to Customer List, you have quite a bit of options available to you. So we'll just kind of take a look at the basics of this page to start off with. First off, this is where you can perform your customer exports, and you'll see when you roll over it, it can only do up to 10,000 customers, which is plenty for most. But this allows you to basically filter this list down to whatever customers you'd like based on the criteria here, and use this export button to export all those customers into a CSV. Next, we have our filter section, and we'll go through that in some more detail, kind of after we've looked over the rest of the page. And then down here, you have all of your customer records based on whatever filters you've chosen up here before you click the search button. So by default, it's just showing me everything I have in here, and it tells me total number of customers in my CRM and how many are on this page, since I can break up these pages. Now, one thing I can do here that is kind of handy is I can click on this Show dropdown, and I can choose how many entries I want to see per page. So if I want to see 100 entries per page, you can see I can select that, and that shows me 100 total entries, if I have at least 100 customers, obviously. I can filter this list down over here using this search box. So if I type a name in here, you can see it filters down. It looks like I've got Franklin in here numerous times for whatever reason. But if you just type a name in here, you can filter that down. I believe... We'll get there. There we are. Now we can also filter this by email address. So you can see I typed in Delta Group, and all of the deltagroup.com email addresses have come up here. Now you can see we got kind of a false positive if we're just looking for the email address. So I can put in the .com. And there we go. So it's just a quick and easy way that you can take this list that you've already filtered here and filter it down to a specific customer or a kind of a subset of customers there. There we go, close that out. Now the next thing I can do here is I have a multi-select, and we'll go over that in a bit more detail as we go. And you can see these are all of the columns that I have initially selected here. So by default, I'm looking at first name, last name, email, date they were created, their last activity date, and their last contact date. And then I have an actions button over here that I can click on to get to specific information about that customer. So if I click on View Profile, that'll take me to that customer's profile page. I have an Edit Customer button here that just brings up kind of a quick edit box that allows me to modify their contact information. In fact, if I view Profile, we'll do that also, you can see it takes me to their whole profile page. And what's important about this is that this did actually open in a new tab, so I didn't lose where I was. I'll close that tab out. There we go. Next thing I can do here is I can send a quick message to that customer. Then this just opens the send message modal. There we go. Now what this, or the way this message sends, is it just puts a message in their portfolio account. So the next time they log in on your website, they'll be able to send the message there. And you can also send them an email notification, just letting them know that there is a new message in the system for them. And then the last thing we can do here is we have a quick option to create a new task. And if I click on that, you can see it opens our new task modal, where we can fill out some information and click add, and that would add the task there. So, having looked that over, we'll move back up to the filter section and kind of do sort of a deep dive into each of the options we have here in the filters. So, if I click on activity, this is all of the activity-related filters. So last activity is the last time they did something, and this lets us pick what it is they did. So if we want to look at everyone whose last activity was visiting the website, we can select Visited Website, hit Search, and then that would show us everyone who the last thing they did was visited our website. And then under activity, we can choose what the activity was and then choose a date range here. So what that allows us to do is say, I want to see everyone who has viewed a home finder. So let's say they have a Save Search set up, so they're getting those home finder emails. I want to see every customer that has viewed a home finder in the last 30 days. So it allows me to filter down to just that activity. The next thing we have is requests. So a request would be they've asked for a showing, or they've asked for information on a property, or they filled out a contact form. They actually interacted with the website and made a request on the website. So if I use that, this will show me every customer that made a request in, for example, the last 30 days. Now I could also select custom, and you can see it opens up these date fields, and that's the same for all of these, but it'll open up these date fields that allows me to define a custom time period. So we'll switch that back to 30 days. We'll switch it back to select. I'm going to clear all these out anyway, so so it doesn't matter too much. The next thing we have here is last logged in. So we can look at last logged in the last 30 days, but basically the last time they logged into the system. Last touched, which works the same way, but it's looking at the last touch date. So this will be the last time I have interacted with that customer in some way. And then created is exactly what it sounds like. So this is when they were created. And this one is allowing you to choose a time frame. So created between last 30 days would be created between 30 days ago and today. But the reason it's phrased that way is because I could choose this custom and put in those date fields, and then I'm looking at every customer whose account was created during that time period. So close that one out. And the next is customer info. This is exactly what it sounds like. So I can search by information related specifically to that customer's profile. So their name, email address, so contact information. I can look at their status, any keywords I have attached. I can look at everybody whose birthday is in a certain range, or include anybody who has a family member whose birthday is within that range as well. So if I want to see anybody who has a birthday in the next month, for example, I could select those. I can search by family members. Now this allows me to search, I can put in part of a family member's name and it will actually search all family members. So it'll return them no matter whether it was a spouse or a sibling, or even a pet that has that name. If I leave this on all family members and I fill in their name here, that's what it'll try to match on. But I can also match on specific types of family members. So if I want to see only those that have a spouse with a certain name, or only those with a child with a certain name, I have the ability to do that as well. I can search by what company name, the business or wherever they work. If I have that filled in for my customers in my database, I can search by that as well. And then the rest of these have to do with statuses related to the customer. So whether or not they're opted out, whether or not they're opted out of just SMS, so just text messaging, if I do have the virtual phone number stuff turned on, whether or not they have a MarketWatch set up, a Save Search set up, whether or not they've left a testimonial, or whether or not there is a .loop transaction related to them. And then this is only going to be available if your company does have the .loop integration turned on. So next we can search by groups and pipeline phases. So in this one, I have an additional option up here that allows me to select a person to see whose groups they're in. This is because I'm a team leader, or this account is set as a team leader. So this has my own account selected. So this would be all of the groups that are attached to my account. Because I'm a team leader, I can also search by the team. So we'll select the team here, and these are all the groups that are attached to that team. So if I want to see only customers that belong in those groups, you can also see here, show only customers in all selected groups. So by default, this is an OR. So this would mean that if I select this or this, it's showing me every customer that's in this group or this group. If I select this checkbox, close that out. If I select this checkbox, it changes it to an AND. So now I'm saying, show me only customers that are in this group and in this group. So show me only customers that are in both groups, not just all customers that are in this group or in this group. So not the contents of both groups, but only those that are in both groups. It's kind of difficult to explain, but that's the idea. Now the next piece we have here is pipeline phase, which is exactly what it sounds like. I just select the pipeline phases I want here, and it will show me customers that are in those pipeline phases. And moving on to requests, this gives us some specific information about, or really specific filters related to the requests that customers have made. So if I want to see all processed and unprocessed leads. Now generally I won't have a lot of unprocessed leads because as soon as those come in I should go in and process them. But if I do have unprocessed leads, I can include those in my search as well or not, depending on this dropdown. I can choose what type of request I want. So if I want to see only those that have requested a showing at some point, I can select that. I'll switch that back to any. I can search keywords in the request comments. Now this is kind of a really case-specific search. But this would be an idea that if I've had a lot of people coming to my website and filling out a contact form, this is searching the contents of the requests they've made, or basically what they've typed into the comments field of the request form. So it's a pretty intensive search, especially if you have a lot of customers in here. But it does allow you to track down, if you had a customer that said something specific in a contact form that they filled out, you can search for them later on by a part of what they put in that contact form. So kind of specific scenarios there. Next, we could search by source. So anyone whose initial source was anything listed here, I would just select those sources, and that's the list it would give me. So if I wanted to see everything that came from my website, for example, I could go down here and select Agent Website, and that would give me every person or every customer whose first request was made on my website. Likewise, I can do last request. So let's say they first made a request on my website, but then later on they made a request on the company website. I could select company website here, and it would show me every customer whose last request was made from the company website, regardless of where their first request was made. Platform is very similar, but platform is looking at request platform instead of request source. So it's just the way that we track requests that come into the system. We'll kind of categorize some of these request sources, and you can see there's quite a few. Some of those are categorized into platform. So company website kind of shows me everything that came from the company website, regardless of whether it came from the company mobile website or the company desktop website or the company contact form. So it kind of includes or encompasses everything from the company website. And you can see there's actually a separate one for mobile website to track that separately here. It's the same for agent website. So it further pares down every request that would have taken place on the company site or the agent site, or came in from a third party. So there are specific request sources that are specific to the actual third party that it came from. So those would show up under request source. But if I wanted to see everything that came from a third party, I could check that box. And we're getting kind of into specifics here. Like a lot of those things aren't going to apply to the vast majority of those of you watching this. But just know that the functionality is in there if it becomes relevant to you at some point. The next piece here is we can look by referral source. So this lead referral source lets us look at, if we're getting a lot of things from our Facebook page, that'll show up in here. But this menu is only populated with things that actually exist, or customers that have matches in here. So basically, if you don't see Facebook in here, that means that there are no customers in here that have a request source of Facebook. Now, one thing I'll add when it comes to the lead referral source stuff is that the way that is stored, their very first visit to your website, when it stores the very first cookie on their computer that they get when they visit your website, that's when it stores that request source. So if, for example, they've been to your website before and then they see an ad on Facebook and they click it and get to your website from there, that's not going to show them with a referral source of Facebook. It's going to show them with a referral source only if the very first time they come to your website, they come from Facebook, if that makes sense. So moving right along, viewed lets us put in property data, and it will basically return every customer that has viewed a property that matches whatever criteria I put in here. So this can be very handy if I want to find customers that are interested in specific properties or properties that match specific criteria or are in a specific area. So this can be very, very powerful like that. And then I have an additional option here to limit this to only those that made a request on a matching property. So not just those that have viewed it, but also those that have asked for information or asked for a showing on it. Now on to assignment. This delegated portion only shows up because this account has delegation privileges, and that is because it is a team leader. If you're not a team leader or you don't otherwise have the delegation privilege, you won't see this delegated to option because it wouldn't be relevant to you. Likewise, assigned to may not show up in here as well. Again, because I'm a team leader, I can see if there are leads assigned to my team members, if they're being shared with me. So that's kind of the significance here. This isn't all team members. This is the team and my own account, so not every member of the team. I can only see this because the team, by default, because I'm a team leader, is assigning or sharing its leads with me also. So I can see those leads that are shared with me, but assigned to the team account. So that's what this would be for. And then fee type, It just depends on the company you're with as to whether or not this is used. But if it is, you can see leads only of a specific fee type. Now the next option we have here is columns. So this determines what columns appear in the actual customer list down here. These are all the default columns, but I can add and remove those as I choose. So that is what this is for. If I do add more columns, then it's capable of showing me. You can see how it stacks them out there. If I had any customers showing up in this list and it stacked out this list, it would put a little plus sign over here that I could use to expand and see the fields that I don't have enough room in my browser to display, basically. So I'll close those out. And then the next piece we have here is the report summary dropdown. So this shows me all of the information I have selected, and all of this information is why I don't have any results here, because I've added quite a bit of filters. So it shows me just a quick breakdown of everything I have selected. So that way I don't have to go drop down by drop down and figure out everything I've chosen there. I can just look at this one menu and see everything. Now the other neat thing I can do here is if I like this set of filters, so let's say I put this together and it's a set of filters I'm going to use over and over again, I can save this filter set so I can pull it up later on. And the way to do that would be to use this drop down and select New Report, hit this Save button here. Now I can give it a title, and I can say whether or not I want it to use this report by default when I first land on this page. If I do, I just give it the title, I hit the little toggle there, and I hit Save. So we'll close that out. Now I can also use this to select from any of my existing reports. So once I have saved a report, it'll be saved in this list, and then if I want to use it again, I can just click on it, and it will load up the results of that report. Now the last thing we'll just touch on real quick is there is an advanced search option over here. If I click on this, this allows me to search from some additional fields that aren't available, or additional filters that aren't available in this dropdown. And what's more, it allows me to put together very complicated queries that allow me to look at really specific criteria when it comes to customers. So a good example of what this would be for is I could say, show me a customer that is in Group A and in Group B, but they're not in Group C, and they've never made a showing request. Something like that. So I can combine a series of ands and ors to basically give me a very specific list that I can work from. And it can be a neat idea if it's something that you want to utilize, but it is fairly complex. So if I click on it, you can see it opens up this menu, and then I can say request date equal, and then I can select a date here. So this will show me everybody who made a request on this day. And we'll add another rule, and we'll say, or they've made a request on this day. So somebody made a request on either one of these days, and then we'll add another group, or they last logged in on this day. So you get the general idea. And I can build this out kind of indefinitely and then run a search from here that will give me that very specific customer list. So we'll reset this thing and click our little toggle there to get rid of that. So now, once I've used all the filters and I have built up the list I want down here, I have the functionality we've already looked at where I can click on this little icon over here and do or perform actions related to this customer specifically. Or I can perform some bulk actions here. To perform bulk actions, I can either use this checkbox to select those I want, or I can use this select all box to select everybody. So if I select all, you see it gives me the additional option here where I can select only this page of results, or I could select all customers. So this would be 294 selected, so that's everybody in the entire results set, as opposed to just this one page worth of results. And we'll click that and we'll switch that to all customers to unselect everybody. So we'll go ahead and select. Real quick though, as we run through this, one more thing that's related to the team site stuff, or the team account stuff that I went over a little bit last week also, is there is this little handshake icon here. This is indicating that this is a delegated lead. So if I scroll down here, what that's saying is that it is delegated to me. If it was delegated out to someone else, so the lead was showing up here on this page because it belonged to me, but I had delegated it to someone else so that they could work that lead. In this case, it would be a team member or the team account. Then it would show up with this little open handshake like this, so the open icon. So that means it belongs to me, but I've delegated it to someone else. This means that it belongs to someone else, but it's been delegated to me. So we'll scroll back up on this list. Now I'll select a few of these. There we go, and you can see as I select them, it opens up this little box down here. I can now hit the delete button if I wanted to bulk delete. Now, if you now that's controlled at the company level, whether you have the ability to delete these contacts or not. So this may or may not be available to you. But if it is available, when you click delete, it gives you some information about bulk deleting a customer and exactly what that means and how long you have to kind of undo this decision. And basically has you confirm that you do want to actually delete these customers. If you do, you'll click I understand the customers, or rather, I understand the customers I have selected, and all of their information will be permanently deleted and wish to continue. And then click delete, and that would complete the process. You can see there is still a grace period, so these will be kind of pending for a few days, but after that, they're gone for good. So make sure that you are deleting those that you want to delete if you do use this functionality. So we'll close out of that. Now the next thing I can do is I can bulk open. So I've selected 3 customers. I'm going to click open. And now it takes me to this bulk actions page. These are my customer accounts that I've selected. And if I click profile, it loads up that customer's profile page right down here. So part of the purpose of this page is to make it very easy for me to cycle through customers and reach out to them one at a time. So it's a solid prospecting tool that way. So I could find all the customers based on the filters on the previous page. So let's say every customer that has viewed a property in a certain zip code, for example, and load them all up on this page, and then I can see their contact information here. I can reach out through email, I could call them, I could send them a text message, and then based on the result of what happened there, I can click add a new note. I can fill a note in here, click done, and then hit next and move on to the next one. The other thing I can do here is this is the whole profile page for the customer. So I can add tasks to that customer. I can create saved searches. So let's say I get them on the phone and I find out that they're interested in properties in a certain area or that meet certain criteria. I can use this add saved search and build out a search from here. I can create a market watch report. Everything I can do from their profile page I can do here. And when I'm done, I just hit next. And now I'm on to the next one. If I want to jump between them, I can always go up here and I can jump between people on this list. And if this was a very large list, I have the same kind of options that I have on the results set on the customer list page. So I can view more than 10, 25, or 50 per page if I want. And I can even use this search function here to filter down based on first name or email address if I want to find someone specific in the list I've pulled up. Now, as far as bulk functionality, this list up here, or this bar, basically is all the bulk functionality that I can perform on these contacts. So we've categorized them in a way that it's pretty straightforward for the most part. So we have communication. If I click on that, I have an option to e-card, e-blast, send an SMS message, again, if I have the virtual phone number functionality turned on, or perform a mail merge on this list of customers. If I go over here to marketing, I can add a saved search to all these customers at once. So if these were all people that were interested in the same listing criteria, so let's say I went to customer list and I said, show me everyone that's viewed a property between $200,000 and $300,000 in the zip code 44708, then I know that they're interested in those properties because that's why I pulled the list up. So from here, I can go to marketing and create a saved search that looks for listings that match that criteria. And then the system will automatically send them an email every time a new listing comes on the market that matches that search criteria. The next thing I can do is I can add a note. So in bulk, I can add a note to all these customers at once. I can change their status all at once. I can add them to an existing group or create a new group and add them all to that new group at the same time. If I hit create new group, you can see it has me fill in a group name. Otherwise, I would just select from my groups and I can click add. I can also remove. Now the way this works is, let's say I pulled up a list that had let's say I pulled up a list of 10 people and 5 of them were in this group and 5 of them weren't. If I hit remove, it'll remove the 5 that are in the group and do nothing to the remaining ones. If I hit add, it'll add the 5 that aren't in the group and do nothing to the ones that are already in it. And then lastly, I can use this to update the pipeline phase of all these users at once. So I can pull up everybody that has made a recent request, for example, and I can go here and I can add them all to the prospect pipeline phase and click add. That would put them all in the phase, and then from here I could go through and then next through all of those prospects. So kind of makes it a more powerful prospecting tool in that way. So there you have it. That is Customer List. All the new filters and functionality we've added to it lately, as well as the ability to perform all the bulk actions and the kind of bulk actions you can perform from that page, or rather from this page. So, as always, thanks a lot for joining me. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, feel free to reach out to our support team at support@deltagroup.com, or give them a call and they can help you out with this or whatever else you need. Sorry about that. So, like I said, thanks a lot for joining me, and I will see you again next week.